Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Funhaus, the movie podcast here on Funhaus. We're calling it Funhaus. I think so. We have a logo and everything. This podcast is brought to you by Mac Weldon. They are offering a 20% off coupon, little special for our fans. More info on that later in the show, so we'll get to that in a bit. First, we're going to be talking about a little movie we saw last night called Assassin's Creed. Timely, I know.
Remember when they showed the Assassin's Creed logo and then the words Assassin's Creed? Just in case you didn't know which movie you were seeing yet.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, but that's the logo.
That's all right with that. I'm always all right with that.
Best way to intro a movie.
It's a lot of fun. So
everything was great.
Real quick, my name is Adam Kovic. I am joined by Lawrence Sontag,
Hello.
Bruce Green,
Hey,
James Willems. We are professionals in the film industry.
it's true.
Critics,
Not
if you
true.
will.
We have been for many
we all
years.
went to. We all have degrees in
Yale
critical
Film
studies
School.
of film.
We've directed,
Yale Film
directed
School.
many movies, written many movies,
Filmology.
So-
produced lots of movies.
When I say our opinion is ironclad, and
Yeah.
that is the word of basically the word of God.
I spent
You
real
have to
U.S.
agree.
money for a Neil Breen movie on DVD. And it took like 3 weeks to mail to me.
This is the caliber that we're dealing with. So the story of Assassin's Creed, to catch everyone. Real quick disclaimer here: we will be spoiling the hell out of this movie because I don't think a lot of people are going to go see it aneway.
Oh, there goes all the
Well, it also
viewers.
came
Yeah.
out like
Let's
a month
go.
ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
And any like game diehards that are probably interested in this movie for the continuity, I'm sure they've already seen it, right?
They must
Otherwise,
have.
Part of my review of the film.
Yeah, they must have.
I guess. Well, go to you, James. Who is this movie for?
This movie is for Assassin's Creed fanboys. Unfortunately, I don't think that everyone involved with the production realized how few of those people there are.
There are hundreds of us.
I know
Out
of literally two.
Well, so I
name
have that doesn't make sense though, James, because they go to the effort of re-explaining everything about the Assassin's
Yes,
Creed
but that's
universe.
what they do with all the Marvel movies too.
Yeah, they do that.
You know the origin of Spider-Man, yet,
But
but
those
yet
are-
we've seen it twice
But
in a
those
decade.
are not for Marvel diehards. Marvel movies are for everybody, people that haven't read comic books. This was not a movie for people.
I don't know.
to see.
you guys are doing the right thing here. You're arguing over it because that's exactly what happened in the boardroom.
Oh, yeah, you're
because
right.
people were like, "No, we need to make it for the general audience. No, we need to make it for the fanboys," and that's why the movie doesn't. One of the reasons why the movie doesn't work, I think.
Okay. Well,
I
let's.
don't. I just think that it's so layered in things that are supposed to make you, if you're a huge Assassin's Creed fan, go, "That's the thing from Assassin's Creed." Except that it's stupid. Like in comics, it kind of makes sense because it's like you see a splash image and you're like, "I wonder what it looked like when Spider-Man went from there to there." Because all I get to see is one shot of it in the middle. You get to see something new for the first time. Assassin's Creed the movie is basically just a slower version of a game you've already played.
Yeah.
So it's like,
can agree with
oh,
that.
hey, he's doing that move that they mocapped from the first game that I played and I got to control. Remember when I got to decide when he did the move?
Now I get to see Michael Fassbender do it.
And it's weird because metaphorically it kind of works its way into the film, because in the plot of the game, it's a guy strapping himself into a machine, going and experiencing these things. And they do say in the game kind of explanation, like, you can't change history. You can't go in and change anything. You just live it.
We
The
call
only
that
difference
desyncing.
is that you, the player, are living it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
That same policy applies to the movie, but it makes kind of less sense and it's weirder from a viewer's perspective because it's like now there's layers of non-interaction. Now you're watching someone watch something in a way.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's exactly.
It does seem like a missed opportunity because there's one thing in the game where if you do kill innocent people, innocent people who are like non-Templars or whatever, it says, whoa, Ezio didn't do that. If you do that too much, we're going to kick you out
You're
of the game.
desynchronizing.
Yeah.
You're desynchronizing.
And that was always kind of a clever way of saying, like, look, it's a video game. We know it.
Well,
And
they
they
did
could
the
have
same thing
potentially
with,
done that in the movie, right?
Well,
Maybe.
I don't
That
know
doesn't
how,
really work
because
the
you
same
can't
way.
interact with the movie.
Ubisoft had a long tradition of sort of couching game tropes into their narrative. So in Sands of Time, you could rewind because it was all the perspective of somebody telling a story.
Yeah.
And if you died, the narrator would go, "Oh wait, no, that didn't happen."
Yeah.
Same thing with Assassin's Creed. It was all couched in the Animus, which is a video game that you play. And yeah, Adam, you're right. If you diverged too far from what history was, you would desync with the account you were trying to live through, which was a way of dying, and then just you roll back to a checkpoint.
So just to roll back real quick, the story of this movie, Assassin's Creed, Michael Fassbender's character,
Callum?
Cal,
believe
I
it's
think
Cal.
his name.
It's Callum.
Yeah, it's Cal. They called him over and over.
is on death row and then finds himself dead, but wakes up in Abstergo,
So there was already a
secret
conflict.
society thing owned by the Templars. Sorry, go
What's the
ahead.
conflict?
No, it's really important to recap. It's just Assassin's Creed 1.
Yeah.
But I realized,
Yes.
so
It's basically Assassin's Creed 1.
the movie wasted a lot of time establishing character wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So they have Cal as a kid.
Well,
There's
you mean
like a
wrong
flashback
according
at
to the
beginning.
video game, right?
Well, wrong according to the movie's narrative. So the first time you see Cal, he's a little baby boy, but he's trying a daring stunt because he's dangerous and.
He's got the assassin's blood.
But
Yeah.
the problem is they spend the entire movie saying that makes you violent, not that just makes you rad and want to do sweet.
Well, that's what
bike
the bad
tricks.
guys were saying. That was the bad guys' rhetoric to
Yeah.
justify their means. I don't know that that's
But the
necessarily.
movie never even addressed that.
Well, no, of course not.
So why establish a character as doing sweet bike tricks when the rest of the movie they say over and over again you're a violent person and he keeps fighting and killing everybody? Why then is his establishment he should have been getting into a fight? Except they probably couldn't cast more kids.
I think what the Templars were describing as violence, most good people would describe as free will,
Right.
the freedom to act,
A choice.
a freedom to do whatever you want
Well,
to.
they kind of explain that in the movie because in the opening, we fast forward 30 years where he's on death row, and we find out later that this scene wasn't in the
That
movie.
was never in the movie.
We fast forward and find out that he killed a pimp, right? So he was sort of justified in his action because
Well, it
we
was-
all know pimps are
Yeah,
the
I
lowest.
was like they just like went
the
through a glossary of bad guy terms.
Pimp.
Like
Well,
who will people be okay with this guy murdering?
It's funny you say that because for half the movie, I was like, why the fuck was he on death row? Like, I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me because he's supposed to be the hero. And then they're like, oh, yeah, he murdered a pimp.
Yeah.
And he went to death row for that? Like, I was like, I'm not exactly sure.
They love that
I'm
shit.
sure Abstergo pulled some strings. This is a world in which
maybe- okay,
giant
yeah, sure.
corporate
All right.
like
All right, I'm okay with that.
Illuminati secretly pulls all the strings behind that. I don't fault that against it. Honestly, like my only real huge major discrepancy with this movie is that you're watching it going, this would be a fun video game. And it already was.
Yeah.
So you're kind of watching it going, why does this movie exist? If this movie came out when the first Assassin's Creed movie came out,
That would have been cool.
it would be the ultimate marketing material because
Yeah.
I would be like, I fucking need to play this game. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be sweet. I'm going to do all this kind of running. And then you play the game. You're like, this is the running sequence from the game
Yeah.
that I'm doing, but I can do it however I want to.
Instead, it comes out the 1 year
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed doesn't have a video.
When
game.
there have already been 20 Assassin's Creed games such that you're kind of bored of it. I mean, I'm kind of bored of Assassin's Creed, and I
Yeah.
think everyone is, which is why they felt comfortable taking a year off. Then you give us a Assassin's Creed you can't even play that just tells you Assassin's Creed again. It's kind of weird. It's just weird timing.
That
I
said,
think.
that said, the movie itself, because I mean, like, I know very little about the Assassin's Creed plot, because I've played very little of the games.
I've played a lot, and I know very little too.
Well, I mean, like, because I want to see I want Lawrence's take on this because he probably knows the most about the plot. But from my side of things, I like to go to these movies kind of blind. I want to know what the plot is. I want to feel like it's a movie so that I can experience it as a movie. Because I don't care if it's a video game. I don't care if it's a comic book, whatever. And that's it. The movie's very boring. Just generally speaking, it doesn't. I think almost every single line is dedicated to plot, which is you're forwarding the plot for 2 hours, a little less than that, which is really boring. There's no character at all in anybody in this movie. And they have really good actors, really, really good actors, which really blew my mind that they couldn't get.
Well, that's what you do. When you have a bad script, you hire good actors.
But then they couldn't even save it.
Well, no,
So-
yeah, because it still is a script, but like you hire, so that way it isn't, you're constantly just like with this weird look on your face. It's like, oh, Michael Fassbender's saying something, and it's not until he's finished saying it that you realize that it was just nothing.
It was nothing.
It's just like hot air.
There's also no humor. So you don't laugh once. You don't even smile once. There's there's not even a thing that I was like, oh, this is fun.
I was kind of okay with the fact that they didn't try and get any tongue-in-cheeky things into it. I was like, all right, well, at least they stuck with the tone. They had one tone consistent.
Yeah, that's true. There was one consistent tone, but it was boring.
But it's like a low hum.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah, it was like nothing basically. So that's the way I felt about it as a movie. I don't know what you thought about it knowing the plot.
Well, plot-wise, that's probably the only saving grace about it, in that there is actually like Assassin's Creed continuity things that happen in this film that several of the previous games have been driving towards. The last,
they've driven away in the recent years.
Yeah, that's like the
Unity
and
I was gonna say after Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah.
I guess like going way back as a Assassin's Creed fan, the only real plot I found anything interesting was Desmond's story, because it was basically what Michael Fassbender's character was. It was like, this man is kidnapped. Oh, this evil corporation's trying to get your memories to figure out where this mystical thing is. And then there's this story that keeps permeating through the storyline that's really interesting about, where did humans come from? And then, Adam and Eve and the apple. And there's this really kind of interesting story there that has a sci-fi element to it that the movie was hinting at but never got to. And then once they hit that point, once they hit 2012, the end of times in the game franchise, they sort of got rid of that. They just went a completely different direction, which made me sad as a fan.
Well, I mean, after the 2012 thing, which was Assassin's Creed 3, then it just became trying to find the Apple of Eden, which happened in the movie.
Which just kind of becomes the MacGuffin over and over and over and over, which is like, well, I was more interested in like the beginning of humanity and like maybe the assassins aren't the good guys. Maybe it is more kind of morally gray.
They weren't going to touch on any of that stuff.
So it's so funny. I read
the games have done that a bit. You play as Templars for some of the games, and Rogue you do.
Yeah.
And Rogue definitely makes the point that like the assassins and Templars are pretty much just children fighting each other for no real reason at this point.
There's even a part where an alien race says, "You're all idiots. You've been fighting this whole time."
Assassin's Creed, the games.
Yeah, there's aliens.
There's a hologram lady. Well,
she's not aliens. They were pre-Earth, before Earth history, before cavemen, before all kinds of things. There was an advanced society of shiny people that lived on Earth.
Okay.
And then 2 of them escaped, which were Adam and Eve. And then they had this piece of technology that they called the Apple that helped basically evolve humanity to what it is. And I was like, I like that. This is getting way off
great
topic
premise
from the
for
movie.
A game. You're describing great premises for a game.
There's this amazing moment. This was the moment where I think it was Assassin's Creed 2 where I went, holy shit, this franchise has won me over. There's a part where you as Desmond are playing, as Ezio, and this alien hologram thing starts talking to you, the player.
Yeah.
And she's talking past Ezio, but you're watching Ezio's memory.
Yeah.
So from Ezio's perspective, this alien's talking to someone beyond saying, hey, I know this is a message from the past to the future that I know you found through this animus type thing. And Ezio's going, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's such a cool thing. I was hoping for something similar to that in the movie, and unfortunately it was just, let's find the apple and stab each other.
Can I also add that right before we were about to go to the movie, Elise, who did not join us, went, runtime is 2 hours and 28 minutes. I didn't find out until after we got home that she was screwing with us.
Oh.
No. She was correct.
She pranked us?
They
pranked us?
I read up on it. They shaved it down to an hour and 40 minutes, I believe. So
they
there's
cut an hour out of the movie?
Practically, yeah.
How's that possible?
I don't know.
We got 40 minutes out of it. If it was
what was the scenario, Elise?
I knew that it was cut.
Uh-huh.
I knew that it was short.
Yeah.
But I don't know why.
she pranked us.
Yeah, she pranked us. She made us think that we were going to see a really long movie.
Thank God.
And there was a point as soon as it ended, like as it was wrapping up, I was like, okay, this looks like an ending. This looks like an ending. And it went to black, and I was like, oh, thank God, we're gonna get out of here by 7.
It's unfortunate because I don't know if you feel the same way, Lawrence, but I kept wanting to like the movie a lot because I'm an Assassin's Creed fan, and I kept seeing things, and there were moments where I was like, oh, very cool, okay, I'm excited to see this. But it, much like Batman versus Superman or music that you enjoy that you are embarrassed to play around your friends, I felt bad for everyone else in the theater because I'm like, no one's gonna like any of this.
Yeah.
I mean, Bruce and I are talking about it, and it kind of comes down to your personal perspective. I don't think there's certain movies that are bad that I find offensive and condescending to me, right? This movie I didn't feel was condescending to me. It was what it was. It was just kind of a low hum. It was just a whatever thing consistently throughout. It has action that is okay. It has a narrative that exists to serve the action, which is passable. Everything is passable. It's basically you took your vehicle for an inspection. It's not a Ferrari. It's a 1994 Honda Civic, and it passed the smog. Yeah, it did pass the smog test. You probably should get an alignment. You probably might want to think about getting a new air filter, but it passed the smog test. That's not a glowing review.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be more offensive to people because it's like everyone just was like, we're putting for par. We're putting for par. Like, don't ever try anything else.
Well, that said, like also because you're right. I also think the movie is something you'll never think about again or want to see again.
Yep.
And I mean, that's what happened to me last night because I was like, oh, like I'll think about it probably like while I'm watching TV or whatever. And I didn't think another thing of it. Like I woke up this morning, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. We got to talk about Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't even remember what happened. Like that is a very, very bad sign of any movie or game or whatever.
Milquetoast, the movie.
Yeah. Well, there was nothing original about it. No. And sadly, this is one of the times where games have better writing than film, because so far all of the Assassin's Creed leads, regardless of how well they were actually executed, had more humanity and interest in them than Cal or Aguilar, who are both non-characters.
Yeah.
They are just there to be characters. And then there's some other weird shit. Like there was the way they do the Animus stuff in the movie is really fucking weird. Beside from him wearing a robot belt, but there was a part near the end of the movie where in the same sequence it like jump cut. Yeah. So there was this cool action sequence that ends with him falling in water. And then it just sort of goes to him on a boat, which is not how the Animus works at all. It plays time linearly. That didn't make any sense to me. There was a lot of just like needing to shove a square peg in a round hole, and then they just hammered it until it went in.
Yeah, the big arm is weird, and it disrupted a lot of the action sequences.
The Animus arm?
Well, it was unfortunate that cut between the stuff that was happening in the past that was some of the more enjoyable stuff.
So I'll explain the mechanics. So basically what happens is he would get synced into the Animus, but they would put him in this giant robot arm with a belt and a thing that jammed into his neck, and then he's basically reliving the memories of Aguilar.
Yeah, that's the film's version of the Animus.
He's on clouds.
In the 15th century.
He climbs on clouds.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, but yeah, so I get that because cinematically, you could see that there was a conversation between the creative teams that were working on this. They were like, it'll be really boring if every single time he goes into this, he's just lying on a white bed, kind of like the video game. The video game can get away with it because once he's in the white bed, it becomes a new game that you're playing. The movie, they know you have to keep watching the whole time and you're not going to interact with. And so they wanted to show a way to kind of show off what he's doing and how it's working. And they overused it. They got a little too hard for their giant robot arm. There's a couple cool sequences where he's doing something in the past, and then it cuts out to everyone watching him move and stuff in the robot arm in the real world. But then you do it 4 or 5 times again in the middle of a fight scene, and it just gets more and more boring, and now it's kind of interrupting. And then when you go back in, you're like, wait, where was the guy that he just hit? Like, he just punched a cloud man, but what happens to the guy in real life? I don't know. He's just kind of gone. I don't know.
Well, there was some stuff in the movie that I did like for those looking for stuff, but we'll talk about
that. The short runtime.
We'll get to more of my short list of things that I legitimately enjoyed about this movie in a second. But first, I'd like to remind you that this episode is brought to you by Mack Weldon, our sponsor, who's making Filmhouse possible. Thank you very much. I can guarantee you that this Mack Weldon's line of clothing is better than anything that you are wearing right now, unless it's Mack Weldon.
Wow.
Mack Weldon clothing is simple to shop for, and it is made of premium antimicrobial materials like their Silver line, which means no bad odors for those for you or those around you. I think we can all attest to that.
Nobody smells in here.
I've gone weeks without cleaning my underwear, and you guys never complain. So
I just didn't tell you.
Yeah.
Really? No, I smell wonderful.
I don't complain.
So Mack Weldon would like to remind you that they want you to be comfortable. They are very comfortable. I own a lot of their underwear and their sweatpants that I got for Christmas. They are amazing. And they are by far the most comfortable underwear and other types of clothes. Bruce has the shirt. I don't have a shirt.
I love that shirt.
I want a shirt.
I wear that shirt all the time. It's great.
And this is the cool part. If you don't like your first pair of underwear, you can keep it and they will still refund you. So there's that. No questions asked. Mack Weldon is better than whatever you are wearing right now. I guarantee that. That's what I'm saying. And if you go to MackWeldon.com, you get 20% off by using the promo code Filmhouse. So thank you, Mack Weldon, for sponsoring this show and letting it exist.
That's Filmhaus.
Correct.
The German spelling of Filmhouse.
That is a thing. So before I continue down my line of things that I liked about the movie, I'd like to give you guys some trivia.
Oh, I love IMDb trivia.
I spent all morning skimming.
Who was considered
Did you know
for the
this
role?
game was based on a movie?
Oh, okay.
So real quick, here's some actual good trivia. 80% of the film, including stunts, extras, and locations, were shot on camera without using CGI.
That's cool.
I don't know where they got the percentage, but there it is. Sure. Because someone probably said it in an interview, and then someone typed it in, hoping for their free internet points.
What is that? Wait.
So not basically 80% of the film is not
Entirely practical, no touch-ups, no nothing?
well.
Because I call bullshit.
That's
Look at
kinda-
that.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No, there was not a single non-color corrected, non-smoggy
Oh, color
shot in
corrected
this-
doesn't count.
that doesn't
Color
count.
correct the whole film. That's not.
Fine. I
CGI
mean overtly color corrected.
CGI is like the fucking owl that was flying around. That's CGI.
I believe you.
But
you
like
mean
all the
eagle?
dumbass smoke.
Yeah.
They mean
whatever.
they mean someone jumped off a roof
Yeah.
and landed on
Like
another
they did
roof.
the stunts. Those.
I
those
call bullshit on that too. Man, sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway,
Lawrence
moving
would
on
know
to
better than IMDb trivia.
I don't
Because
know.
they all look like marshmallow people, even in the action sequences. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Moving on to the true gem of the IMDb trivia. This is towards the bottom of the list,
Bruce
so you know
Willis
it's good.
considered for the role.
No, Olivia Munn expressed
Oh.
interest in appearing in the film. 10 out of 30 people found this
she's
interesting.
also
Probably
she's not
during
in
an
the
She's
movie.
not in the
episode of
movie,
Attack
is-
of the Show.
Yeah.
I would love to be in that movie.
My favorite thing is when an actor expresses interest in wanting work.
and then
that's
they don't get work.
that is great.
I'd like to put it out there right now. I'm expressing interest in starring in. What should I star in? The Mass Effect movie.
okay.
I'm expressing interest in an episode 9
Okay.
extra role. I just want to be an extra in Star Wars.
I'm going to express interest in being
Add
the
that to
lead.
the add that to
Okay,
the
all right.
trivia.
James expressing interest in the lead. I'll be an extra.
There we go.
So a quick rundown of the things that I actually enjoyed about this film as an Assassin's Creed fan and as a fan of film. I thought for whatever reason the screen we were on was very dark, and it's strange going back and watching a lot of these clips on YouTube because it looks like the color is actually correct on these, but
I think it was just a dark movie.
some of the cinematography was actually really well done. Some of the action was really well done, and they got the same director and DP as Macbeth, which is a beautiful film. And so I will say, as far as video game movies go, it's definitely one of the better looking ones, if not the best looking video game movie I think I've ever seen.
That's valid. I feel like some of the action, especially at the beginning, there are a lot of really quick cuts and blurry close-up shots.
When it's not jarring, it's good. Like when they're doing long, like I like the parkour and like the big open fight scenes, but when they did the quick like Batman,
Yeah.
kind of cuts, like Batman fight stuff, I was like, I didn't like it.
That stuff really bothers me, especially I feel like we've kind of moved on past those sorts of action sequences as a society. And so now when when I see like they did this in Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions, like, yeah, those are bad movies, but there's some really cool fight scenes that are just one continuous take. And they could have done that kind of stuff with Assassin's Creed, and I felt like they didn't do it as much as I wanted them to.
Or at all.
There were times. I mean, like there were times that it just didn't feel like they were doing anything.
So what's frustrating is that shot is longer than what they used in the film. There are some decent, provided you stitch them together in your head and kind of override the manic editing. There are some decent action sequences. There's like some really good free running sequences. There's some really good combat. But yeah, they're all slaughtered by cutting into out of tight shots, cutting back to Callum with a stupid arm around him. There are 3 or 4 cuts per second in some of these, and that may be a little harsh, maybe 2 to 3, but still
80% of all cuts were done at 3 seconds or more.
Yeah, it gets exactly.
Olivia Munn expressed interest in having more cuts
in
in
editing. It for me that ruined the action, and I hate that more. I hate it when there's good action that I can't see, and I felt like that was the case with Assassin's Creed. And also having seen some of their set photos and stuff, they had the space to do a nice, like, intelligible shot, but maybe the stunt people couldn't do it all in one go, or who the fuck knows. But it's such a shame because up until they either edited it or filmed it, there was some really good action, at least on in somebody's head, but it did not survive.
And I will say the thing that I actually walked away from the movie enjoying was the ending. Once again, we're going to spoil this heavily. It makes no fucking sense why the Templars have kept all these assassins alive while they're all keeping them in this like sort of jail system. Obviously, they're done with them, so I don't know why they're all there. But there's a big escape at the end, and all the assassins have now basically did what Desmond never did in the video games, which always bothered me, where they're now modern day assassins because they inherited the traits.
He did it. You remember when he
That
snuck
one
around
sequence?
that
You got a
stadium?
parachute. You got a parachute into Abstergo.
That was
the end of Assassin's
That was
Creed 3?
basically I was looking forward to a game that was modern day assassin that had minimal going back in times, but you were doing like cool ninja assassin stuff without any guns or anything like that. But anyway, that aside, there's an escape scene, and then you start to kind of see modern day assassins, and then they leave it somewhat open of like, okay, now these guys are modern day assassins in the modern world. Neat, pretty cool. Unfortunately, that's the end of the movie, and probably the end of the franchise.
Yeah. They also
Maybe the end of the cinematic franchise.
Most likely, yes.
Yeah, I don't think anything. It's also weird. I was more confused by the ending than I was through the rest of the confusing movie. I wasn't sure what anyone was trying to do.
I think apple-haired girl is now a new villain for some reason.
Even though she was literally confronted with her demons at the end of it, and she was like, "Oh, I repent."
Yeah.
And it's like, "All right, you've been spared." And then she's like, "Ah."
Now I do it for
We're talking
me.
about Marion Cotillard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was an assassin. Spoiler
That's
alert.
another thing too.
She was
also-
absolutely an assassin.
She saw that she was an assassin, but then at the end, she's a bad guy.
So she's
Right.
going to be an assassin.
Well, the funny thing too is in this whole universe, and they did a very poor job of explaining this.
Spoil the third movie, right?
The third movie. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just saying the difference between assassins and Templars is like very minor. It becomes very much like
Well, they tried to deepen it a bit in the film they tried to recontextualize because Abstergo / the Templars have just wanted control, and it was all crouched in like, oh, we can bring world peace if we control everything. And in the movie, they recontextualize it, which I kind of enjoy, to it being more of a philosophical argument, like you were saying before. Now the Templars, or at least part of the Templars, identify free will as the issue. That if humankind
take
have free
away
will,
free- yeah,
they'll always be
free-
fighting and fucking for the rest of mankind.
Take away free will.
Yeah, and it's then it becomes like it's okay. A lot of movies tread on this when they try to get deep. Is that like, no, human beings need free will, even if they make mistakes, because that's what humanity is, and love and peace and all that stuff. Except the movie did a terrible job making the assassins seem human.
well, we've seen in past games and stuff like that, where things that I've liked, where they've had characters like Connor from Assassin's Creed 3, who's an assassin, and then his father's a Templar. I was like, that's a neat thing that they can be from the same bloodline, and they can go one way or the other. Not a big deal.
It sounds like they're doing that with Jeremy Irons and Marion Cotillard.
Right. But the ending is so unclear as to what.
It's vague.
Yeah, she just sort of recites a Shakespeare quote or something like that after her father is killed.
But it's unclear whether or not she's upset that he's dead or happy that he's dead.
I couldn't tell.
And whether or not she seeks the approval of the overseer of the Templars or doesn't seek the approval.
I mean, the games do this a lot. It'll drop on a question mark, and then you have to play the next one. So I don't know who ultimately creatively was responsible, but what I felt from that was it works so well in the games. We just leave them on a cliffhanger. Works well in the games. Just give them some gray area where they don't know what's up, and then they'll play the next one because they're trying to figure out what's going on.
They've also shown the clip a couple. It's reminding me of my least favorite part of the whole movie. It's been in the clips that we've been watching this whole time. But at the very first action sequence, it ends with them grabbing a child and escaping on a wagon, and they eliminate all the other threats, but they're headed towards a cliff.
I think I know what you're going to say.
And then there's a female assassin who's riding the horses. And she's like, protect the child. And then she unhooks the wagon. And then the wagon heads towards the cliff. But there's no reason, because if you notice, the horses just follow the path.
Yeah.
So if she hadn't unhooked anything,
It'd be fine.
the horses would have just turned left and then you would have just ridden away.
That was the reason they did that was so that we didn't want to see horses die in a movie. I'm like, for me, I was like, oh wow, they're gonna kill horses. Like I was expecting the whole thing to go off the cliff,
Yeah.
and then that's not what happened.
Well, but it's almost too like, they assume like horses running wild go off the cliff
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
stuff like that. You can't stop. What can you do when a horse is all crazy
Right.
and stuff? And then someone goes, well, why would a horse? That doesn't make sense. Horses would just not. They won't kill themselves. They just stop, right? And then someone goes, you're right. So we got to get rid of those horses, which then makes even less sense
Yep.
than
Right. Yep.
the horses just running off a cliff.
Yeah.
They also took out the the single shot that all the nerds had a problem with, where she like double palms and then they slide down even though she has blades on her wrists. They took the blades away.
Wait, what are you talking about?
So they show it in every single trailer because it's legitimately the coolest action shot of the film when Lady Ninja's fucking
and it does the double-
owning up those two dudes and then does a double palm, and everyone like took gifs of them. They just like slump straight down, except she had knives. So it's like, did she just cut them straight up their bodies?
I see.
What are you talking about? They go.
No, in the trailer they're out. When the dudes slide down,
knives are
they're
still out?
Yeah, so everybody had a problem with that. They just took the knives away.
Well.
They just unclicked that layer in After Effects, and that's the movie.
That's how movies are made.
I mean, but to me, that's the same kind of problem solving of like,
We
oh
fixed it.
shit. Well, let's just take it out.
Yeah.
I do like that. I mean, they time appropriate. They did. Aguilar doesn't have his blade finger, so that's something. They didn't call that out. That's one stupid game reference. That
I believe you guys were at
on.
the snack stand. But the very opening of the film is actually the assassin's thing where they remove the ring finger.
Oh,
Which I always thought was like kind of a cool thing because it's like, okay, but they never really touch on it.
Yeah.
They never explain it, which is okay. But once again, that's like that feeling after I saw Batman vs Superman with everyone where I felt like I had to explain things to people, and that is not a good film.
No, it's true.
Which is really
It's
unfortunate.
also the opening. That's like what's supposed to get you really jazzed for it. Something that you don't understand happening.
It's one of
It doesn't tie in to anything later.
It's so unfortunate. The thing that makes me sad about this film is it just feels like wasted potential because Assassin's Creed is an interesting concept that could easily make an interesting movie, but I don't know if they were too concerned of either trying to appease everybody or nobody. Like it feels like there was a lot of infighting with this production. It just seems strange because I don't as a fan of film and as a fan of Assassin's Creed, I did walk away going, "Dang it."
There's a certain caliber of films that should at the very beginning, and if they do, they get a total pass. Say WWE Films presents, and this seems like it should be, but it doesn't have that.
Kind of
so
like the
you judge
Marine
it
with
more
a lot more
harshly.
fake fog on every shot.
WWE films.
Yeah. So
Wow.
it's Sniper
Anyway.
3.
Either way, don't even watch it on television. I really honestly think it's a total waste of time.
I think
It is.
I would say if you're a fan of the games, I think you might get something out of this. It might end up making you more angry.
So, yeah.
I hope something comes of this.
You get to see parts of Abstergo you don't see in the games. You get to see the CEO of Abstergo, which is kind of cool. I think Jeremy Irons does a good job being an aloof,
You can Google it.
authoritarian. Yeah, you can Google everything and read it in a wiki, and you'll save money and time, which is
I don't
sadly
know.
where
If you have
this movie
something
comes
else
down
you
on.
need to do, like fold laundry or play a mobile game, throw Assassin's Creed on.
Sure, it's like the arrow.
It's
of
better
movies.
than a TV being off, but not necessarily better than wanting to actually watch something.
Well, since we're hitting the final thoughts, I will leave you with this. The budget of the film was an estimate of $125 million.
That's a lot of money.
The opening weekend was $10.2 million in the U.S.
Ooh,
bad.
boy, oh boy.
Here in the U.S., the movie has grossed $49 million, a little shy of 50.
How much of that is Jack?
Worldwide, though, Jack has helped get the movie to $148 million, which means it has made its money back.
Ding,
Well,
Not marketing.
yeah, typically
No.
marketing-
This movie has been
They cut before
there
you
are
could see the knives.
there are so many billboards on my drive to work.
I'm sure the marketing budget.
Billboards don't cost
Yeah,
that
in
much.
LA.
Do they not?
They say
everywhere.
they also say usually the marketing budget is equal to the budget of the film, typically.
Oof.
So usually you double the whole thing, and it's around 250 million. So I don't know if they're gonna make a second one of these. They might though.
I kind of hope they do, and maybe they just do a lower budget version. Maybe it
I don't
doesn't-
know. I think Ubisoft is making money on their games.
Yeah.
And then Fox got involved and said, we'd like to make money on your games too. And so then they teamed up, and now Fox is probably like, all right, well, your games aren't going to make us as much money as you wanted, so let's move on to something else.
I feel like there could potentially one day be a good video game movie out there. This had the makings of it, but it unfortunately missed the mark.
Man,
and
it
that
really missed
that
the mark.
bums me out as an Assassin's Creed fan.
There's plenty of video games you can play if you want to experience movie-like shit.
It had all
plenty
the
of-
production value. It didn't have like that spark that makes a movie good or more interesting than all the little bits that get thrown into the bin.
Yep, it didn't.
Just like continuity between shots, human interests, like all the little gray areas that you can't put on a dry erase board are just not in the film at all.
So with all that said, thank you for watching this episode of Funhaus, Filmhouse, whatever it's called.
You nailed it.
I think we're going to try to work on getting an audio version out there some way, somehow. If you enjoy this, tell a friend, please. And thank you to everyone listening, and thank you to our sponsor, Mac Weldon, for making the show possible. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
Right.
Say bye. Yeah. She did.
There it is.
They added the knives back. Adam likes to do a thing, not me, Adam from your movie.
Other Adam.
He does a fun compilation of his favorite films of the year, and it's going to be a while before he gets to 2016.
Yes.
So I thought we'd kick this off. Oh yeah, this one.
You opened up that one.
I did the fake one. How much
You
does this guy cost?
can officially
It depends
hit
what
our
you order,
content
right?
ID, by the way.
Well, so